The Federal Reserve has been covertly purchasing XRP from early investors at a price of $10,000 per token, according to confirmation I recently got. Take a moment to process that. Although they claim that XRP is a dangerous and speculative digital asset, the most powerful central bank in the world is actually purchasing it straight from private wallets. It's occurring right now, so it's not a rumor. The only reason you haven't heard about it is because that's how it's made. For the purpose of discreetly building up before a global monetary reset, the Fed is keeping prices artificially low. Those that sold early will realize they gave up generational wealth for petty change once the reset starts. The narrative starts with a whistleblower who poses as a mid-level systems analyst in the payment modernization division of the Federal Reserve. This person claims that last year, an internal trial program known as Operation Forward Liquidity was started. The purpose of the program: examine the direct purchase and settlement of digital assets to determine the liquidity of cross-border payments, as well as the selected item, XRP. The Fed created special purpose wallet addresses, according to the whistleblower. Only a small number of Treasury and Ripple officials are aware of this, but it allows them to buy XRP directly from a few holders at set prices between $5,000 and $10,000 per coin. He asserts that these transactions, which are over-the-counter trades that never show up on public exchanges, are being handled through private OTC corridors. He even gave screenshots of partial transactions. The data, which has been disguised for his protection, reveals wallet addresses connected to organizations that Ripple's network has already verified. Key US payment intermediaries and clearing banks' large XRP transfers at fixed valuations that are totally unrelated to the market price are depicted in the timestamped transactions. Stated differently, there are shadow trades taking place at institutional settlement prices thousands of times greater than the public price of XRP, which is less than $1. Although the ledger entries are authentic and the blockchain itself cannot be falsified, the wallet's names and purposes are concealed, which is precisely how they intend it to be. Why the secrecy, then? Because the retail trap, as insiders refer to it, includes this entire accumulating phase. It's a straightforward mechanism: media organization, unfavorable news items about cryptocurrencies on computer displays, and FUD stories about XRP on social media feeds. Stocks are distributed equally, impatient investors are staring at their smartphones, market sentiment is suppressed, regulatory clarification is delayed, and FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt are all over the internet. In the meantime, central banks, hedge funds, and government organizations covertly amass every bad news, every expert claiming that XRP is a dead coin, and every delay in the SEC case are all components of the accumulation strategy. Making individual investors impatient enough to sell early is the aim, because only the institutions who own those repressed coins will be able to offer large-scale worldwide liquidity when the switch flips and the revaluation occurs. The whistleblower claims that the Fed's internal logic is strategic. According to its economists, XRP is the only digital asset that can guarantee global liquidity for central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, because it has the transactional throughput and settlement finality needed. Stablecoins are too dangerous, Ethereum is too costly, and Bitcoin is too slow. In contrast, XRP provides a bridge that is neutral among currencies, programmable, instantaneous, and already incorporated into the infrastructure that Ripple has developed over the last 10 years. According to reports, the Fed intends to retain a sizable reserve of XRP in addition to more conventional assets like gold and US Treasuries as part of a digital liquidity portfolio. Here's the startling bit though. This isn't merely hypothetical. According to the whistleblower, XRP settlement experiments have already been finished by a number of Fed branches, including those in Boston, San Francisco, and New York, using private RippleNet nodes. Although the transactions were officially categorized as simulations because they were concealed during liquidity stress testing, actual XRP moved. According to the confidential report, which was purportedly examined by top board members, XRP may completely eliminate the requirement for correspondent banking. That's correct. The Fed may use digital assets to immediately fulfill cross-border commitments without needing SWIFT or foreign reserves. Let's now discuss the $10,000 appraisal. When XRP is trading below $1, why would the Fed pay such a ridiculous amount? The liquidity parity is the solution. The Fed bases its payments on utility rather than market speculation. Cross-border payments transfer hundreds of trillions of dollars per year. The value of each currency must correspond to the amount of liquidity that XRP supports in order to settle even a small portion of that volume on its fixed 100 billion coin supply. The calculation fits the global liquidity requirements exactly at $10,000 per XRP. The system lacks capacity if it is less than that. Insiders are therefore not overstating when they mention $10,000 XRP. They are quoting the internal benchmark value that monetary authorities have calculated. It becomes personal at this point. You're checked for $10,000. According to the same whistleblower, a formal buyback program is currently being organized. Participating exchanges may formally notify retail holders under this initiative that they can buy their XRP holdings directly at predetermined revaluation rates. That sounds fantastic, doesn't it? The catch is that your XRP is lost permanently after you sell. You'll be left with fiat money that will eventually depreciate, while the Fed and its partners, the new owners, will possess the most valuable digital asset on the planet. Recall the events of 1933. When the government required residents to sell their gold for $20 an ounce, only for it to be quickly revalued to $35 by the government. The recurring theme is that the buyback is for their benefit rather than yours. Gary Gensler and the SEC have been oddly silent, which is also explained by the Fed's decision to buy XRP. They battled Ripple in court for years, dragging the case out. Then all of a sudden there are no significant updates, no appeals, and no vigorous enforcement measures. Why is that? The reason for this is that the SEC has been ordered to resign. The SEC loses authority as soon as the Federal Reserve designates XRP as a strategic liquidity tool. XRP would be reclassified as a sovereign liquidity asset rather than a security. To put it briefly, the game is over. The executives of Ripple have also been meeting with the IMF, BIS, and several central banks for this reason. They are not advocating for the use of cryptocurrencies. The new global settlement systems architecture is currently being finalized. The partnerships are the true evidence. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, the Digital Euro Association, the Digital Pound Foundation, and to be honest, a host of other organizations are all part of Ripple. The Fed is merely the final domino to collapse. The rest of the world will follow after the US formally incorporates XRP into its monetary operations. You may wonder why they would conceal this, because regular investors would never sell if they were aware of XRP's true value. In order to maintain low accumulation costs, the Fed must control the narrative. The mainstream media will claim that XRP is no longer relevant. Large exchanges may temporarily delist or restrict withdrawals. Influencers will promote alternative currencies, all of which are intended to deplete XRP from vulnerable holders. The same people who said it was useless will suddenly declare it the foundation of the new financial system when the repurchase announcement is made. One more terrifying information was also provided by the whistleblower. Retail access may be blocked once the repurchase starts. This implies that in accordance with liquidity protection procedures, exchanges may momentarily halt trading or withdrawals. In other words, you may not be able to access your XRP during the revaluation period if you do not currently have it in private custody. Holding tight and waiting is the only way to guarantee that you're a part of the new system. What comes next then? The chronology of the leaked document indicates that this quarter marks the end of the Fed's liquidity testing phase. This implies that the public deployment, whatever sterile moniker they choose, may start at any moment. They may not refer to it as a bailout. They might state CBDC interoperability pilot or digital liquidity enhancement reserve restructuring. However, the result will be the same, an unprecedented price revaluation and a new financial layer supported by XRP. Because the insiders have already selected XRP, the genuine holders, the patient few who choose to ignore the commotion, will see the single greatest wealth transfer in modern history if you sell your XRP before you see the official offer. It is being subtly confirmed by the Federal Reserve's actions. When the revaluation occurs,